For a quarter of a century, Joseph Stalin was the dictator of one of the largest and most powerful nations the world has ever seen. And that made him a prime target. To protect himself and his dream of a socialist utopia, he built a sprawling fortress beneath his capital, Moscow. From a watery underworld that saved the city from floods, but created a hidden labyrinth for his enemies.
Convicts on the lam, smugglers would use them to hide their goods. They were used as dungeons and torture chambers.
To a heavily fortified underground bunker, where the fate of the free world hung in the balance.
This is where the cable was sent to Cuba, calling off the missile crisis.
We're not supposed to go down here.
And highly classified tunnels used by the Soviet elite, hiding in the shadow of the busiest metro system in the world. We're peeling back the layers of time on Cities of the Underworld, Stalin's secret lair.
I'm Don Wildman. I'm in Moscow, the largest city in Europe and center of power of the largest nation in the world. For over 700 years, Russia has been ruled by some of the most powerful, brilliant, and ruthless leaders in history, but none left a greater mark or deeper scar than Joseph Stalin. He ruled the Soviet Union for more than 30 years, turning a nation decimated by war into an industrial and military giant. But his success came at a horrible cost. He was responsible for the deaths of millions of his own countrymen and locked an entire nation behind the dreaded Iron Curtain. He did it by turning Russia into a tightly controlled police state and made his capital into a virtual prison, above and below ground.
Located along the Moskva River, Moscow is the capital of the Russian Federation and home to over 10 million people. But for nearly 2 centuries, from 1721 to 1917, Moscow was an overgrown village, a small part of the massive Russian Empire. That all changed in 1917 when Tsar Nicholas II was overthrown in a bloody socialist revolution. The Russian Empire became the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and in 1918 moved its capital from St. Petersburg to Moscow, a blank slate for the new nation to build a modern socialist utopia. In 1922, Joseph Stalin emerged as the powerful and ruthless dictator of the Soviet Union. In the 1930s, he began to purge the Communist Party of any dissidents. Anyone who spoke out against him or his government was imprisoned, executed, or disappeared. To defend the city from his enemies, he launched a massive building campaign underground. In the Taganka neighborhood of Old Moscow is a cleverly concealed bunker, a remnant of the darkest days of the Cold War, when the U.S. and Soviet Union were perched on the brink of nuclear disaster.
I'm about 15 minutes from the Kremlin in a typical Moscow neighborhood. You have the beautiful old churches, old homes, apartment house. You know, it's where people live. This is the location I've been sent to. Top secret location. A typical building in a typical neighborhood. But I guess that was the point.
At the height of the Cold War, you could pass by this apartment building and never suspect it was actually the entrance to a top-secret military bunker. I met up with Terence Fabian. He's an American living in Moscow who spent his life studying Russian and Soviet history. He took me through the hallway of this apartment building that was an elaborate subterfuge for the massive complex below. A nerve center where the Soviets plotted their secret strategy against their arch-enemy, the U.S.
After you. Yeah, we can go down, take the elevator down, and it goes down 60 meters, like 200 feet.
200 feet straight down?
Yeah, it's like the height of a 20-story building.
Nearly 200 feet below this apartment complex, construction of a top-secret military bunker began under Stalin's orders in 1952.
One? All right. Here we go. Wow, look at this thing. It's so solid. Now, how many people were coming down here every day?
Okay. There were anywhere from between 1,000 to 1,500 people assigned to the bunker. and they worked in 3 24-hour rotating watches.
Okay.
So at any one time, there would have been from like 300 to 500 people actually on duty in the bunker.
For 33 years, this underground bunker served as a Soviet military communications center. Back then, it was simply known as GO-42. Hidden by an ordinary apartment building up above, GO-42 sits 196 feet underground and consists of 4 large blocks connected by a network of tunnels. Block 3 housed all the technical support systems, generators, ventilation systems, and supplies. Block 4 consisted of a canteen, bunk room, and infirmary. And Blocks 1 and 2 were the heart of the operation. They held communications offices and equipment.
Now tell me about the name of this place, GO-42. What's that mean?
Государственный объект number 42.
All right.
Which is government installation.
Okay.
Which is a nice designation because it identifies the installation without particularly telling you anything about it.
Yeah.
Heavy security was necessary to protect the primary purpose of GO-42, communications. In a time of crisis, the leaders of this global superpower would be making world-changing decisions from these rooms.
What do we have here?
You've got shortwave radio sets, telecoding and decoding machines, switchboards.
Near the end of the Cold War, GO-42 and the equipment inside were simply abandoned. But almost 50 years ago, this was Command Central during the Cuban Missile Crisis. In 1962, Nikita Khrushchev, the Soviet premier, was embroiled in an escalating conflict with the United States over Cuba. As everyone braced for World War III, it seemed like Stalin's bunker might finally serve its ultimate purpose, until Khrushchev sent out an order that changed the future of the planet.
In October of 1962, this was the bunker that the message was sent from during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Really?
To withdraw the Soviet forces from Cuba, stand down, we're not going to war with the United States.
I mean, that was as close as we ever got to nuclear holocaust.
Yeah, like the pistol was cocked and the finger was on the trigger.
And they were down here with that finger on the trigger.
Absolutely.
I mean, you forget this. We're 200 feet below. People walking, going home from work into their houses. Down here, a top secret military complex. This is where the cable was sent to Cuba, calling off the missile crisis. Maybe sent through this equipment.
To ensure the absolute security of the equipment and the bunker, Stalin chose a secret organization to oversee the daily operation of GO-42.
Basically, it was the responsibility of the MGB, which was one of the forerunners of the KGB. They would have been the guards up at the top at the entrance.
Security began with checkpoints like these, but in GO-42, every element of its design was centered around preserving its secrecy.
This is steel-plated tunnel.
These are actually plates of a metal alloy. It contains a lot of lead, and the reason these are applied over the walls of the corridor was because they absorb electromagnetic radiation from all the communications gear in here.
Okay.
And that would make the bunker more difficult to detect from above ground.
What are these noises I hear around me?
It's the metro, the subway train.
Oh, so we're at the same level.
Right.
Wow,
In fact, they use the construction of the metro as camouflage for construction of the bunker.
Okay. Look at this. This is the end of this long corridor, the evacuation tunnel. We're 200 feet beneath the neighborhood above us. And where are we really? We're connected to the metro. Listen, right out there. Hear that? That's a train. That's the metro, the Moscow metro, right outside this door. That's pretty cool.
With the busiest metro system in the world crowding Moscow's underground, the builders of GO-42 had to design their highly sensitive bunker around nearby subway tunnels. But Stalin's ultimate plan for GO-42 was more than a top-secret communication center.
After 1945, after the advent of nuclear weapons, when it became obvious that a lot of the other bunkers, which were near surface, would not be able to survive a nuclear blast, the decision was made to move everything deep underground.
Stalin wanted this bunker to be the ideal place for his top officials to wait out a nuclear apocalypse.
The total capacity of the bunker was 3,000 people.
3,000 people.
3,000. They could have kept 3,000 people here alive for 90 days.
3 months.
Yep.
Wow.
GO-42 was completed in 1956. But just off of Block 3 is an unfinished section of tunnel where you can see the skeleton of the bunker.